The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that hums with judgment and unseen eyes. A single father, dressed in a worn-out suit, stood trembling before the bench. His name was Michael Grant, a decorated Army veteran turned mechanic, struggling to keep custody of his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Across from him sat his ex-wife's attorney, a sleek man in an expensive tie who smirked like he'd already won. And presiding over it all was Judge Rebecca Harlow, a woman known for her impatience with unprepared defendants. "Mr. Grant," the judge said with a hint of sarcasm, "I assume you're representing yourself, again." Her tone dripped with disdain, as if his lack of a lawyer was a personal insult. Michael swallowed hard, straightened his back, and nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." The courtroom snickered quietly, the sound cutting like small knives. It wasn't the first time he'd been looked down on. It happened at the grocery store, at the bank, at job interviews, everywhere. A single father with calloused hands and tired eyes never earned much sympathy. But he wasn't here for sympathy. He was here for Lily. The opposing attorney stood, flashing his perfect teeth. "Your Honor, Mr. Grant has repeatedly failed to provide proper care for his daughter. We have photos of her in outdated clothing, school absences, and proof he cannot financially support her." Michael clenched his fists. The photos were from months ago, during the worst time of his life, when he'd been recovering from an injury sustained overseas and trying to rebuild after losing his job. But now he was stable. He had his small garage, a modest home, and more love for his daughter than anyone could measure. Still, every word from that attorney painted him as irresponsible. Judge Harlow leaned forward, unimpressed. "Mr. Grant, do you have any legal knowledge to refute this evidence?" The courtroom chuckled again. Michael took a deep breath, his voice low but steady. "I may not have a degree, Your Honor, but I've spent every night for the last 6 months studying family law." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Studying?" "Yes, ma'am. From free online archives, veteran legal resources, and court transcripts. I wanted to understand what I was fighting for." She gave a skeptical hum. "Well, let's see if that studying pays off." As the attorney presented his evidence, Michael began dismantling it piece by piece. He pointed out inconsistencies in the timestamps of the photos, questioned the reliability of the so-called witnesses, and even cited obscure legal precedents, ones Judge Harlow herself had presided over years ago. Each statement came with precision, confidence, and quiet intensity. The smirk faded from the opposing lawyer's face. He hadn't expected resistance, let alone intellect. "Your Honor," Michael said firmly, "the law states that financial hardship alone is not grounds for termination of parental rights. My daughter's happiness and safety have never been in question." He held up a stack of papers, report cards, medical forms, and letters from Lily's teachers praising her progress. "She's thriving because she's loved. That's all that matters." The courtroom was no longer laughing. The judge's pen stilled in her hand. "Mr. Grant," she said slowly, "where did you learn to argue like that?" He smiled faintly. "When you're fighting for your country, you learn to stay calm under fire. When you're fighting for your child, you learn faster." There was a long silence. Then, to everyone's shock, the judge removed her glasses and sighed deeply. "This court finds in favor of the defendant, Mr. Grant. Custody will remain with the father." Michael froze. For a moment, he didn't believe what he'd heard. Then Lily, waiting in the back row with her grandmother, rushed into his arms. Crying. The courtroom erupted in murmurs, but all he could hear was his daughter whispering, "We did it, Daddy." Judge Harlow cleared her throat. "Mr. Grant," she said, softer this time, "I owe you an apology. I misjudged you." He met her eyes, his voice steady but kind. "That's okay, Your Honor. Happens to me a lot." She gave a small, rare smile. Maybe it shouldn't. As he walked out of the courtroom, Lily holding his hand tightly, reporters and spectators looked at him differently. Not as a broken veteran or struggling father, but as a man who refused to quit. Outside, the sun broke through the gray clouds. Michael looked up, a tear slipping down his cheek. He'd fought wars overseas, but this was the battle that defined him, the one for love, dignity, and hope. Later, he'd use his newfound knowledge to help other struggling parents navigate the same system that almost broke him. The story spread online. Single dad veteran wins custody after outsmarting lawyer in court. But to Michael, it wasn't about fame. It was about proving that strength isn't just found on the battlefield, it's in the quiet moments, in a father's promise, and in the belief that no one, no matter how underestimated, is ever truly powerless.